reputation we stand tall. Happy camping with the finest to see, creating happy RVs for the whole family. With RV mobile power, we make every trip shine. Hop on board with us, it's always a good time.
You're watching the RVMP Power Hour, live Q&A with Kayla Ault. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and Facebook for live updates, product news, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. You can also visit us anytime at rvmp.co to sign up for our email list and get weekly recaps, reminders, and all the latest from the Power Hour.
Creating happy RVs for the whole family.
Everyone, and welcome to Power Hour with me, Kayla. Thank you for joining in today. Today we are going to talk about our 4000 series generators, go in depth about where you'll find them, what they do, and a little troubleshooting as well. So who am I? I'm Kayla. I run our customer service department here at RVMP, and I take anything from calls from dealerships to end users, OEMs at the buying level to help with any setup, troubleshooting, and issues and or concerns that customers might have. Today, again, we're going to talk about our 4000 series generator. We have a couple different models that we'll speak on today. It'll be our I series, and then talking as well about our carbureted model, and then going into our new and newly released, fuel injected model as well. So just to start, where you'll see this generator. So we sell currently this generator to Winnebago, Tiffin, Forest River, in different divisions there. Sunseeker, Coachman, Forester. So you'll see that on motorized more with that company. We sell this to Jayco, so you'll see that in different types of fifth wheel applications. Thor motorized, so all of their Class Cs. And then we also sell it to aftermarket customers as well for replacement items for their generators. A little bit about this generator. This generator, just like all of our generators, are dual fuel capable. That means you can run it on gasoline and propane as well. And it's a 4,000 watt generator. It allows 33.3 amps for capacity. 2,200 to 3,600 variable speed RPMs, depending on the load of it. And it is a splash lubricant design, meaning there is no fuel filter with this. This generator has two reservoirs for oil, one in the front for the fill side and one in the rear as well, where the oil sensor is located. If the oil level is not satisfied with the generator, it will not fire. It'll tell you on its front panel that we're having issues. There's also a manual recoil pull start on this as well, meaning if you have dead batteries or close to dead batteries, you can still have capability of starting your generator. We need 8 volts to open up the fuel solenoid, but if you have that, you are good to go and can use it as well. This unit just comes in at 121 pounds, about 50 plus pounds less than our competitors, which gives our OEM builders a little bit more space in terms of weight capacity for their coach. Also is a little bit smaller footprint, and with our research and development team, we'll even go to a smaller footprint very quickly. And with that, I'm going to introduce, where's he at? I'm going to introduce Steve Holt. It's running on other places. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulty with YouTube, but I'm going to bring Steve Holt in today. He's thrilled. Everyone in our office is actually off of work today, except for a few of us. And Steve has graciously lent his knowledge to me to come on and speak about this. Steve has been involved with this product since when?
2021.
Okay, so 2021, we started developing this product with another company and watched that development happen, and then watched it stop for a little bit and then pick back up. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was a slow start, but once we satisfied the questions, performance reviews, and I guess in-field testing became more and more popular, more applicable, and we have plenty of satisfied customers now.
I think so too.
So it's been slow start, but accelerated quickly, and now it's the one of the number one generators in the RV market.
Yeah.
So
And why do you think that is? What makes
Well-
ours stand out versus others?
it really comes down to the performance within the size, weight, and function. Being a dual fuel, that opens up an avenue so people don't have to swap the entire generator or order two different ones. The weight, I carried this in myself, so it's manageable weight. The size is considerably smaller than our competition, so it doesn't take up a lot of room on the RV itself. So space savings, weight savings, and comfortable power output on two different fuels. So it's a nice all-in-one package.
Perfect. What do you think that the biggest challenge with developing the product was or has been as you continue to develop in this series of generator and as you move forward? What's your biggest challenge there?
I would say one of the hardest things is satisfying the extreme environmental variables. So even in North America, we have extreme cold and extreme hot within a couple days drive. So if you're in Colorado, you have extreme cold and altitude challenges, which affect the fuel, efficiencies. And then of course you go to Death Valley the next week and it could be 127 degrees as the one test we did. So really just adapting to airflows, temperature tolerances, and extreme, temperature environments. That was hard to overcome at first, but with some testing and real world testing, we satisfied that, hurdle, if you will.
And can you tell me, without sharing too much of your secret knowledge of the product, because we don't want to share everything because you never know who's watching, right?
That's true.
What do you think moving forward is going to be the biggest thing that you're going to overcome with this unit? Because as we've seen, there are many different applications that we put this in, and many different people want many different things with it. So what are we doing as a company? What are you doing in the R&D department to make those changes happen? And what's your biggest, what's your biggest happiness with it? What's the best thing?
Well, basically the efficiencies are what we're concentrating on. Same concepts, but refining that to make it even smaller, even lighter, and even stronger. Our prototypes right now are doing all of those things, and we're gonna let that out into the market very shortly. And all the feedback so far has been overwhelmingly positive, and the demand is increasing by the day.
It is. I know, I've seen those numbers, and it's not even out yet, and people already want to place POs. So
That's right.
it's like, let's get it into us and let us test it and make sure it's going to run the way that we, designed it to run. And then,
Exactly.
we'll let it run out in the
Oh, yeah.
world with all the people.
Right.
Do you think that with the change of design and capability of the unit, you maybe stopped any other running challenges that it has? Did we do any internal changes with inverter or anything like that that could change, what end users might see as a problem that we have today?
Obviously, in changing items on the well-known product, we have things to overcome like serviceability. So making it more compact usually means can't get your hand in there. So servicing can be a challenging endeavor, but those things can be overcome. But it does take time, field testing, a few busted knuckles here and there.
Right.
But yes, it's in the works, and it's heading the right direction. I'll say that.
Yeah, we love that.
Mhm.
Our R&D team comes up with all the crazy things. We go to them with what we're getting from feedback from either dealerships or end users or OEMs that we sell to directly. We're like, can we make this happen? And he usually looks at us like, are you really going to ask me for one more thing? We're going to one more thing him all the time.
There's always one more thing.
There's always one more thing. So they are always I say like he has a team. It's just really him. He's working very, very hard to get those challenges taken care of and get all of our requests into a new unit. This unit itself, obviously been out since 2021. This is our second generation, right?
Second iteration of
That's what
this
we would call
same
this.
product.
Yep. So same product. We did a engine change back 2 years ago. Is that when we did that
Yeah,
officially?
that took effect about 2 years ago.
So 2 years ago, we changed the engine. We were working with one company, went and worked with the other, and then they essentially changed a ton of other components as well inside.
Yeah, to suit the engine change, a lot of the different electrical overlays, the sensors, the carburetor, throttle body, just the design essentially to make that work
To make it work.
with a more efficient engine.
So we have our 4000i Series 1, 4000i Series 2, and then we also just rolled out recently within the last, 6 months, I would call
Yep.
it 6 months, our 4000e, which is a carbureted version of this.
Fuel injected.
Or I'm sorry, fuel injected version of this. This is carbureted. Essentially the same setup though, except for going fuel injected. And what challenges have you seen with that unit? Anything?
Well, that unit was the result of needing to satisfy the air quality standards of every state in the country. So carburation is going into the history books, whereas fuel injected is much higher in efficiency. So it satisfies the EPA standards and air quality standards across the states. So that was the necessary change that we needed to make. So although 49 states can still use the carburetor, it's getting more and more likely that we'll have a few states that cannot.
No.
So to be ready for that, we built the exact same product, but with a fuel injection system rather than carburation.
And our old iteration and our new are carb compliant for everything currently today in its
Right.
standard.
Yes.
But then obviously as we're moving forward and going into whatever changes, whatever states want to make,
Right.
we all know what states.
Yes, we do.
We all know the states. We're already ahead of the game. And that, I
Yes.
guess, gives us a little bit of a cutting edge against our competitors.
Right.
So we knew this was going to happen years prior, potentially.
Yeah.
And we were already working hard to make sure that we satisfied those needs. And so all of our units will be able to be used in those. And then moving forward, obviously, we're making and designing units that are already just at
Right.
that standard and
Yeah.
above.
All new models are fuel injected and carb compliant and certified.
Yep.
So all that gets done first, and then we release that to the market. So we're ready.
We are ready. What could you tell us is one of the top things that you've seen in this model be troublesome to you as a developer and or that you've heard from end users? Because then I'll share with mine.
End user seems to be, well, it's a small engine. And a lot of people don't like to do maintenance.
Yeah.
So out of sight, out of mind usually affects the end user. So if they store their camper over the wintertime, let's say they're around here, they store it in the wintertime. Sometimes they don't, I guess, winterize the generator specifically. It's part of the coach. They think they've got the entire coach done, but they forget sometimes. Or they don't exercise it when they're using the coach. So if they neglect the small engine fuel aspects, then when they go to use it, first time of the year usually, then they don't know why it's not starting. It's difficult to get around that as everybody's a little bit different.
And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be in that stuck float in the carburetor because gas has gummed up and there's some residual grossness, I guess what we'll call it, whatever you want to call
That's a
it.
very technical term. Grossness.
Grossness stuck in that carburetor, and that's what's allowing the fuel not to go through.
Exactly.
That's what you said.
It'll gel up and
Yep.
close off the orify, if you will, and it won't breathe and operate normal. So that'll prevent it from running. Although if you switch to LP, can generally run on that for a while. Sometimes the heat from the engine will free up the gasoline portion, but not always.
And then we
Yeah.
have to change your carburetor or
Yeah.
do the tappy tap on the bottom of the solenoid to see if it can loosen up and go. I use these terms because
Another technical term.
another technical term. But in my realm of life, I'm talking with technicians or end users that are in front of it and they're like, how do you fix this? And so we have come up with some creative ways to help them through those challenges.
Yes, very creative.
I would say again, that to speak to your point, I do agree that it's sometimes a user issue potentially when starting and or stopping the generator as to what our biggest hurdle is. Our generator has an auto prime function on it. So if you hit the button and hold it for about 3 seconds, it tells it to prime the pump and start. And our competitors are not like that. They want to hold a long hold on their button to turn that prime on. And sometimes people confuse the two or
That's a good way of putting it.
or just know the old way of doing it. And so they'll over prime the unit, flood it, and it won't start because there's too much gasoline in that area. So that's one thing I do run into in my life of that. My realm. Also low oil. So this unit is incredibly sensitive to the oil level that needs to be satisfied in the unit. We don't have the ability to turn it on right now, but there are 2 lights on this unit, one for output ready and overload and one for low oil. And if the low oil light is on, it does mean that it has low oil. And
That's
while
right.
it may show full on the front side, there is a rear reservoir where that sensor is located. So sometimes when people are moving their coaches or it's just delivered to a dealership, oil shifts around in there.
That's right.
They don't pull on the recoil to move that oil from the front to the rear. It's showing full. They remove oil. Then we even have less oil. That light is going to stay on. So if the low oil light is on, call us. We'll walk you through it.
Yes.
It's a good indicator that there's low oil somewhere in the unit, whether it be in the rear or the front, and that is not being satisfied. So
Right, and that is a protection to safeguard the engine from wear and malfunction.
yes.
So add some oil, usually good to go.
I was just being told that we are now back live on YouTube. So for some reason, our YouTube does not like us. So if you're joining us on YouTube, thank you for that. What we just talked about a little bit about is the challenges that our 4000i series generator has given us, the different styles that we've gone through. We've got 3 different generations of it officially, and then led it into our fuel injected. Wow. Hang on one second. Let's take a look. I've got Joe in the background sending us questions so that he can help us with that. So thanks, Joe, to you. I installed the RVMP 5500 in my 5th wheel. It works great when stopped, but will not stay running when moving. Running on propane only. So they're driving the coach down the road. 5th wheel application unit is not running. Will stop running while driving down the road. We have a couple issues. Could have an overheat issue. Could be too hot.
There could be many different.
It could be too hot. It could be,
Well, depending on the speed and outside environmentals.
Environmental.
You could be into a vacuum negative airlock, basically in the generator
On the outside
compartment. But for either fuel, it has to mix with outside air. So if it's a negative pressure, you can't draw enough air to run.
Okay.
So that could be if they have a strong crosswind in combination to driving.
All right.
That could.
The box could be too hot, depending
Overheat
on what
is another one, depending on where they are. If they're in Florida right now and it's about 100 degrees, it could be trapping hot air.
John, if you don't mind, if you could just type in the chat where you're at located, like geographically in the world, we'd be happy to dive in a little further on that one for you. Wait 1 second. Well, while he's going through that, a little bit more that I run into on the 4000i series issue is sometimes a communication issue between the onboard
It happens a lot.
in command system. So it could be an AGS, it could be a Firefly, it could be a Lippert One Control app, or their One Control that is connected to our generator for starting, stopping, priming functionality. And there is some type of communication issue between the two. So what I like to do when you're troubleshooting with me is I'll have you isolate the generator off of the coach itself, which involves unplugging the harness, which is here in my hand. Some people don't know where it's at. And I tell them left front of the generator. They're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It looks like this. And I'll have them isolate that off the coach. And then we'll use the start stop functions off the generator itself, as long as we have good battery power and good fuel. And I would say 9 times out of 10, we can function the generator off of that without being connected to the coach. And then we have to dive in a little deeper on what it could be on the coach side. It could be a wiring issue, it could be a programming issue, and that's why we are on the front side working with our OEM partners to determine what they're using
Right.
inside their coach, so that we don't have those issues down the road, and we've already programmed their programming, or we as in Steve has created a relay that will allow the start stop function from their front panel to our generator.
That's right.
So that's one thing.
Communication is huge.
A communication issue that we see it, and so we try and be ahead of knowing what they're using. And then in aftermarket installations, it's a little different. So you can purchase our product online. You can purchase it from our distribution partners. So knowing a little bit more upfront what we're looking at is also very helpful. And sometimes those things just don't talk to each other.
Right.
We do have some harnesses that we've created in our company that will connect old style panels to our generator and allow them to talk to one another. But we are always continuing to develop that. And we just developed our own wire harness department in our company to be ahead of that, so that we can still lead the charge on those communication issues, so that we don't have customers out there that are dissatisfied with the fact that they can't start their coach from inside.
Right.
And we have dealerships that are not happy because it's not starting there.
Sure. Yeah.
So-
Two different systems trying to communicate.
Yeah.
It can get confusing.
It also comes down to the use case. Again, people are used to holding that button down. I had one yesterday call in. They're like, it was a rental fleet. I felt so bad. These people wanted to use it. And I'm like, I think this is just a use case issue. And he hit the button once, it started, fired. We put a load on it. I said, no, go hit the button one more time, and it stopped it. And I said, no, go double tap the button, and it started it right again. And he thinks that the user was just not using it correctly. But it gave them a really bad experience. So the more that we're upfront and the more that we're educating people on how to use our units and how they function in comparison to others is really important to us. So John was in Louisiana when he tried that. He tried running down the road. But again, if you'd be happy to send us some photos of your installation, we'd be happy to look at it. Make sure you've got proper airflow with that 5500 and it's sitting in your fifth wheel correctly. We have a gasket that we install under our fifth wheel pan or basement installations, essentially, so that gap that could be on that bottom pan with our muffler exhaust, so there's no heat re-entering the cabinet, and it's all exhausting out the correct place. Is that right, what I'm saying? Yeah. And then we have, a cutout for where fresh air is coming in, so making sure that is clear and that, the distance between those are correct.
Right.
I don't know, I'm going to ask the question, is there a fuel boil level with LP? I mean, if it gets too hot, does it stop?
With LP, no. Pressure can increase, but for the most part, that would not affect.
Yeah.
It's generally not the fuel side.
Okay.
If it's an LP application,
Okay.
The environmentals or moving air, that can prevent enough oxygen to getting to the carburetor and or throttle body.
Okay.
So it could be a flooding situation, too much LP,
Too much
not
LP.
enough air.
Well.
So it's a ratio. Yeah.
That could be playing an impact on that. Well,
Right.
We're happy to help with whatever way we can. Hello to the team at Legacy who's watching us today. We love you all. Sorry, they just messaged in.
Yeah.
And our boss just messaged us. Well, so, and we don't have to take up the whole hour today. I know that it is the Memorial Day weekend. Many people might be out getting ready to go camping. Any tips for that this weekend? It is officially like the start of summer in the RV world.
Yes, I would suggest bringing a jacket.
A jacket? A jacket.
It is cold.
We're in northern Indiana today, and it is a little chilly out there. I don't think it's going to go over 70, which is
No,
very
I don't
sad.
think we're going to get close to it today.
We're not going to get close to it today or anytime in the next few days. But as you're out camping and as you're out, spending time with your family, and if you are using our unit, make sure that you have proper battery power. You have, the fuel selection lever in the correct position. You have gas on board. And that if you are close and camping close to other people, you're keeping correct distance for
Exhausting and no flammables underneath.
underneath.
The generator.
We need 12 inches of height on our exhaust, and that is really for the safety of anything underneath it, for one, and then
That's
the
right.
exhaust heat to get out as well.
Right. Nobody likes a wildfire.
No one likes a wildfire. I don't know. It's, we've had rain the last few weeks, so it's been nice here, but that has not been an issue. But other places it could be. And we do recommend, calling us if you have questions or concerns about your generator and how it's functioning, and making sure that the front end of your generator is up off the ground. Sorry, Joe just sent me something.
Oh, and the fifth wheel applications. Absolutely.
He was thinking about putting baffles in, John was, baffles in to move the air around.
Possibly. That could help. Going down the road, it's going to be a little bit different, as you will have a positive and negative pressure variant as the wind moves outside of the coach. So it may act funny in a high wind, high heat situation. If that does keep happening, there are a couple ways you can go around there. Some people use basically a louvered vent on the outside so that it prevents, I guess, negative air pressure on the inside of the cabinet.
Okay. And that's just changing out that cabinet door then, essentially, or installing one?
Or installing it on the air intake on the bottom of the pan.
Okay.
So there's a couple different ways to do
Options
that.
to do
but
that. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically to prevent too much air exchange going down the road.
Too fast. And then too much is going to just
Right.
throw off the ratio again, and we won't be able to use it.
Right.
Okay. A couple different options for you. Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Joe, for feeding that to us. Steve, what are you doing for Memorial Day?
I hope to be golfing.
Golfing?
Yeah, and if that doesn't pan out, I can always come here to find something to do.
No, absolutely not. You will not find me back here until Tuesday.
You might find me here.
Very, very nice. It's raining out there. But again, we can stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes. It's been a very, very quiet day around here. Any other tips, tricks, or things that you want us to know about this unit?
Maintain it properly. The gasoline side is, it's picky, mainly because it's volatile petroleum. Other than being good for the use of small engine, it's also probably the most damaging part of the small engine.
The gasoline side of it.
Right. So if it doesn't get used, that tends to be the biggest problem. So use it a lot. It doesn't have to be used in a camping situation, but you want it to at least run for about,
Exercise.
10, 15 minutes, at least, I would say every couple of weeks. And that prevents a lot of issues.
And when you don't have it running for, days on end and you just use it here and there, do you see anything in regards to like exhaust? Is there a white smoke that comes out when you're restarting, or is that just basically on a startup of a new engine that you'll see that? Or is that also during the downtime? Are you going to see that?
Well, so the 3 different colors of smoke are indicative of what fluid is actually burning.
Right.
So if you have a white smoke, that's typically water.
Okay.
So
Condensation?
it'll build up in the exhaust pipe, in the muffler, sometimes in the cylinder. Not too much, it's pretty closed off, but that is fairly common, and these are air cooled, so it shouldn't burn a whole lot of white smoke for very long. But that is something that happens with small engines. If you see blue smoke, that's typically you're burning either a little bit of oil and a lot of gas, or just a little bit of oil. But if you have black smoke, then you're usually burning a lot of oil, a lot of fuel. So the color of smoke is actually a handy indicator. So white is most common, as it is condensation.
Sure. Okay. That's condensation in the muffler exhaust area that's burning off. Is that correct?
It typically. So those areas are all metal. Temperature changes on metal will, I guess, exact condensation a little bit more rapid than anywhere else.
Just like you're starting your car in the middle of winter or anything like that. You have that condensation build up and you see that smoke, and you can see that because that's what it is.
Exactly. Once that warms up and either evaporates or burns off, then then it's clear and good to go.
Perfect. One more question from John. Would it be possible for it to shut down for a low oil alarm on rough roads?
That could be possible if it's right on the edge. That oil level sensor is very sensitive, and the one thing it does is stop the ignition from from operating. So it's a safety feature that will shut it down instantly.
Okay. Perfect. Good to know. Good to know. What else? I'm just reading over my notes. And anything else I want to tell people about this thing? Our 4000i design is obsolete now.
Well,
We'll
they're
call
still
it.
in the field.
Well, we have it. It's not available for purchase currently, and it won't
Right.
be. It's not. It is in the field. Yes, we've sold
Right.
thousands of those units.
That's right.
We have parts and troubleshooting available for it, but it's not going to be sold anymore. I think
We are not manufacturing
We are not
carbureted
manufacturing.
models anymore.
so. With that change, we have the stock of parts and things to support it.
Right.
Our knowledge is still there with it. Obviously, it was
Yep.
the bread and butter piece of our business for a very long time. It's
That's
really
right.
what kind of got us in the foothold into the industry itself. So it'll always be near and dear to us, but
It's near.
it's near. But then as we have grown as a company and EPA changes have happened, we decided to get rid of it altogether. But we have thousands of them out there. And with that change, I think it really just opened us up as a company to be on the edge of something brand new. And
Right. Moving because of the requirements to fuel injection, I would say 90% of the machine remains the same. However, we are now compliant in the next level.
the next level.
So
Yeah.
it's just a natural evolutionary machine change, but the fuel injection model is great. And then when we get to the next iteration, I think the market will be very surprised on what we could do with a smaller item.
And we'll be sharing that in a few weeks. We're not quite ready to share that yet, but we will be sharing it
That's right.
with time as we finalize that product, and it's already here, and we're all excited about it.
And if we get an extra one to show,
And if we get an extra one to show, have you seen any challenges with how we are changing where our production is made of our units?
certainly challenges, but necessary ones. And I think it will benefit all involved. So I think it's a smart move, no matter the opinion on, the how and why and who, but
Yeah.
it is a good change. I think it's going to benefit us, the market, manufacturing partners, and that has allowed for future changes we wanted to implement. The timing worked out where we could do that all at the same time. So instead of changing the assembly process for one of these to another model, we start fresh in another location
Yep.
with the future models. So, and that'll affect essentially 3 different models on one location. So, yeah,
That'd be right.
I think it'll be good.
Well, I think we have blown through all of our information on this unit, which is great.
We can start making things up, I guess.
No, we don't got to do that. And I knew that today was probably going to be a slower type of day because of the holiday season,
That's
which is great.
I don't know about you, but I'm glad to be at work.
Oh, are you? Me too. I'm
Yes,
glad
I
to be with all of you wonderful people today. So just to recap, you'll see a recap email go out if you're watching us today or you're subscribed to our channels about what we talked about today, where our product is at, where we're going with it. And be on the lookout for our next episode it'll be 2 weeks from today. And at that one, we're going to dive deep into our 5500 series generator, where we're at with it, where we're going with it, what it's doing, and what we're powering with it, which is great and exciting.
You said that was 2 weeks from now.
That's 2 weeks from now. He's going to call off work, so he doesn't have to be here. We know where to find him. As always, have a very happy and safe Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy time with your families. And if you need us, you can reach us on all of our contacts, support at rvmp.com, 855-427-7978. And as always, happy camping.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's RVMP Power Hour. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and follow us on social media. We appreciate you being part of our community, and we hope to see you again.